Good morning. I'm Jackson Short with the Director of Investigations and Homeland Security for the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office. On behalf of the men and women of the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office, we are honored to once again be hosting this annual event. Every October, we join our local law enforcement partners and members from regional domestic violence shelters to help educate, provide support, and pay tribute to those that we've lost along the way. This is more than an awareness month or news conference for all of us. It is a conversation starter as we continue to talk about the dangers of domestic violence, how many lives are affected by it, and remind citizens that help is just a phone call away. I want to take a moment to thank Mayor Lenny Curry and State Attorney Melissa Nelson for their support in joining us, as well as our partners from the region's criminal justice agencies and domestic violence shelters. We have representatives here today from the Baker County, Clay County, and St. Johns County Sheriff's Office. We also have Atlantic Beach and Neptune Beach Police Department here with us today. I also want to recognize our officers who diligently work these cases each day and the members of our Victims and Witnesses Services Unit who are committed to helping survivors get their lives back on track. Our message is simple. Domestic violence has no boundaries, and early intervention can prevent escalation. So no matter if the abuse is physical, emotional, sexual, or economic related, know this: your life matters, and we are here for you. Another aspect we need to be aware of is that children exposed to domestic violence are more likely to develop emotional and behavioral problems that can affect their development and continue into adulthood. Therefore, it is vital that we disrupt this cycle before it is passed on from generation to generation. We hope the messages shared today will empower someone enduring this type of trauma to take that first step in breaking the cycle, reclaiming their life, and preventing future abuse. We are here day or night, ready to intervene. That one phone call can set the path to getting connected with services and potentially prevent further abuse or a domestic violence-related murder from occurring in the future. Sadly, from January 1st to September 15th of this year, there have been 7 domestic violence-related murders in Duval County. Currently, there are 2 additional cases that are still pending classification. One service that we do provide is a collaborative response to domestic violence involving the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office, Hubbard House, and the City of Jacksonville through a program known as Intimate Violence Enhanced Services Team, or INVEST. From October 1st of 2021 to September 27th of this year, the INVEST team reviewed more than 9,000 reports for its 2021-2022 fiscal year. Out of those reports, 732 were identified as potential cases, with 89 victims accepting services. Hopefully in the future, more will take advantage of this program. I mention all this to remind those in our community that even though this type of abuse may not be happening to you, it may be happening to someone around you. So pay attention to the signs and take action to help those in need to get out of those relationships. To those that are currently suffering in silence, we want to walk with you and guide you on the path to getting out of this relationship. Don't focus on the obstacles. Instead, focus on getting yourself out of the situation. Help is just a phone call away. Trained professionals are here, and all you have to do is pick up the phone and call or text 911. If you need someone to talk to, Hubbard House's hotline is available 24 hours a day. That number is 904-354-3114. In closing, I ask that tonight you pray for the victims' families that have been impacted by the tragic events that took their loved ones' lives. Thank you again for being here. And with that, I invite Mayor Curry to please come up.
Good morning. Good morning. It's good to be here with you this morning, joining law enforcement and our partner organizations today. We're here to show our continued support for the fight to end domestic violence right here in our community. Thank you to the Hubbard House, local shelters, our men and women in law enforcement for your commitment to stopping domestic violence and supporting survivors in our community. I've seen the data, and the numbers are shocking and troubling. Over 8,700 domestic violence offenses are reported to law enforcement here in Jacksonville, and even more go unreported. Domestic violence continues to be viewed as something that is private and dealt with within the family. But that isn't true. This is a serious crime, and perpetrators of this violence must be held accountable. Domestic violence damages lives, destroys families, impacts not only survivors and their networks, but the entire community. We must continue to speak up for survivors and take action. To the survivors, know that you are not alone. Your community is here to support you. Last year, Hubbard House provided shelter and services to more than 4,000 children and adults impacted by domestic violence. That's what this month, Domestic Violence Awareness Month, is about. Increasing awareness and encouraging all citizens of our city to take a stand, support survivors, and make every relationship in Jacksonville violence-free. In this spirit, I don't have the proclamation with me. Do we have it?
Yeah, we're going to present.
We'll get it.
Yes, we're going to present it to you.
Yes, but I will read the part that makes it official. Now, therefore, I, Lenny Curry, by virtue of the authority vested in me as mayor of Jacksonville, Florida, do hereby proclaim October 22nd as Domestic Violence Awareness Month in Jacksonville and encourage all citizens to recognize the vital role Hubbard House plays in serving vulnerable citizens and join them in working to eliminate domestic violence and encourage healthy relationships.
Thank you, Mayor Curry. Next, I would like to invite Carrie Gaynor, the Deputy Director of the Special Victims Unit at the State Attorney's Office, to please come up.
Good morning. Again, my name is Carrie Gaynor. I'm the Deputy Director of the Special Victims Unit at the State Attorney's Office. I'm appreciative of being here today, given this press conference necessitated this kickoff for Domestic Violence Awareness Month. This year marks the 25th year that this diverse and dedicated community has worked together as part of the Duval County Domestic Violence Fatality Review. We at the State Attorney's Office have been fortunate to work with excellent partners like Hubbard House, the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office, the Attorney General's Office, the Clerk of Courts and Family Court Services, the First Coast Child Protection Team, the Jacksonville Area Legal Aid, Battered Women's Justice Project, Jacksonville Safety First Jewish Family and Community Services, the Salvation Army, the United States Navy, the University of North Florida, all part of the annual Domestic Fatality Review. We collectively meet monthly and bi-monthly to review and analyze adult domestic violence homicides within Duval County from the prior year, and the entire team provides findings and recommendations. I had the honor to serve this year as the co-chair, the meeting coordinator, and also assist in the group editing of the individual reports. Today, I would like to share with you our findings. This year, our team of professionals reviewed 17 cases of domestic homicide that included 18 homicide with victim deaths and 1 suspect death from 2021. Some of these patterns include, as with prior years with data going back to 1997, suspects are still largely male. Of all domestic cases reviewed in 2021, 71% involved male suspects. In intimate partner cases, 64% involved males suspects overall, and in 55% of intimate partner cases, male suspects killed a female partner. These statistics show an overwhelming disparity and that women remain extremely vulnerable in domestic violence situations. As with previous years, firearms remain the primary weapon in domestic violence cases. This year, firearms were the method of homicide in 71% of these cases, which is up 7% from 2020. For comparison, the next most common weapon involved bladed weapons such as knives, which accounted for only 18% of cases. Thus, abusers who have access to firearms are a significant threat to their potential victims. Consequently, when domestic violence victims come forward, it is extremely important that lethality assessments and safety planning be thoroughly discussed. Domestic homicides where the suspect and the victim were cohabitants or living together accounted for 73% of the cases. This finding is important because abusers who remain in the home, especially those with access to firearms, are an even greater threat to their victims. Therefore, it is recommended that more consideration be given when victims request injunctions that restrict an abuser from returning to the home. And law enforcement and social services refer victims to shelters such as Hubbard House, Quigley House, the Betty Griffin Center, and Micah's Place. For 2020, our team of professionals reviewed 14 domestic homicide cases. For 2021, as I said, we reviewed 17. Although the pure numbers may not be a significant statistical difference, each of these cases involved a human life that was snuffed out by domestic violence. For that reason alone, each of these cases is significant. The goal of reaching zero domestic homicides may seem challenging, but it is nonetheless a meaningful goal. Members of law enforcement, the state attorney's office, and our community partners have chosen a life of service, of honor, of duty, and of commitment to the citizens of Duval County. And our calling is to pursue justice always, to defend the defenseless and protect victims of domestic violence. But we cannot achieve this alone. We call on our Duval community to action and vigilance in pursuing abusers. As Chief Short had also pointed out, no one deserves to be abused, and things may pass off as lovers' quarrels or casual violence, like shoving and slaps in public may be more behind closed doors. If you see something, say something. Be a shoulder and an ear for victims, and when in need, help them to find their voice, and even be their voice. Thank you.
Thank you, Carrie. Next, I would like to invite Dr. Cale Patton, the Chief Executive Officer for the Hubbard House, to please come up.
Good morning. I am honored to be joined today by the CEOs of two of our partner shelters, Kelly Franklin with the Betty Griffin Center and Jennifer Rodriguez with Quigley House. Together, we stand with a clear, unified message, and that is that survivors, we are here for you. This marks the 25th year that our community has come together through the Domestic Violence Fatality Review Team to find the trends behind domestic violence-related deaths. Why do we do this? To help survivors. It's another year that domestic violence centers, law enforcement, the state attorney's office, and the city of Jacksonville make a point to show this visible support. All are here to help survivors, to let them know that they are not alone. I wish I could stand here today and say we have achieved our vision where every relationship is violent-free. But unfortunately, the violence persists. As you heard, there were 18 victims killed by domestic violence in Jacksonville in 2021, including 12 victims of intimate partner violence. Violence carried out by a person who was supposed to love and care for their partner, but instead instilled pain, instilled fear, and ended their lives. Like the woman who was 8 months pregnant when she was shot and killed by her boyfriend, and the baby died as well. The woman who was killed by her husband just after putting her 7-month-old baby down for a nap so she could get ready for work. The 18 lives claimed, they're not just numbers. They are real people, real victims with real stories who live right here in our community. Community is such a crucial concept. But more than a concept, more than an idea, it's a feeling. It's a support, because abusers, they like to isolate their partners from any possible forms of support. They say, nobody will believe you. They'll say, if you leave, I'll find you, so why leave? They'll say, you're responsible for this, not me. Survivor, you are not responsible for the abuse. Hubbard House believes you. Quigley House believes you. Betty Griffin Center believes you. We are here for you, and we stand united for you. That message is so simple, but so very important. We are here for you. It's why we have Domestic Violence Awareness Month, social media campaign, which is #HereForYou. All too often in a news story about domestic violence, we hear friends, families, and neighbors say, "I knew something was wrong, but didn't know how to help." Or, "We thought there might be problems, but didn't want to get involved." Standing here today, I encourage everyone to pledge no more. No more sitting by and hoping for things to get better. Instead, we can all join in saying to survivors, "I am here for you. We are here for you." It's a message to survivors that you are not alone. It's a message to our community that can create social change for today and for decades to come. It's a way we all continue to come together to work towards that vision of support, safety, and violence-free relationships. For you, maybe that support is sharing one of our social media posts. That one post you share just might be the one that reaches a survivor who needs to know that there is hope and where to get it. For our community members standing here today, that support means our continued collaborative commitment to helping survivors by giving our time, our resources, and most of all, our compassion. And if there's one thing I want the survivor watching today to know, it is this, and you can't say it enough. Survivor, you are not alone. If you live in Clay County, Quigley House has a 24-hour hotline. If you live in Nassau County, Micah's Place has a 24-hour hotline. If you live in St. Johns County, Betty Griffin Center has a 24-hour hotline. And if you live in Baker or Duval counties, Hubbard House has a 24-hour hotline. Our support is free, our support is confidential, and our support is constant. Hubbard House, Quigley House, Betty Griffin Center, and other domestic violence centers around the state have always been and will always be here for you, survivor. As we stand here today to make this commitment to support survivors, we are joined by LaToya. LaToya is a strong, bright, amazing woman who has experienced tragedy and heartache because of domestic violence. She is using her strength to share today with the hope of encouraging you to be there for survivors. LaToya?
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is LaToya Calhoun. I am standing in place of my sister, LaShonda Nicole Wilson. I would like to thank the Hubbard House for the opportunity, all law enforcement and everyone here, my mama-in-law for joining me today, and my parents for giving me permission to share this story. Accept no one's definition of your life. Define yourself. This is a part of a quote from Harvey Fierstein. I start with this quote because it is the last quote that my sister, LaShonda Nicole Wilson, would have written in her notebook as she was gathering the courage to leave her abusive husband. Never in a million years do I think that she believed that it would be the last, that the end would end in her death. LaShonda was the oldest of 4 siblings, and I was the third. Each of us had our own special bond with her, and honestly, there isn't one word that I can use to describe what she meant to me. A mother figure, a sister, a friend. I can talk to her about everything, and she always gave the best advice. My sisters and I, we were good kids, but LaShonda, she made sure we were always on the right track. For as long as I can remember, we all called her Bumper. Everyone in the family did. She met the man who would become her husband at the corner store in our Grand Park neighborhood one day. They dated for a few years and were married for a few as well. It didn't start with fear for her. It started subtle. He would have her stay on the phone with him until she fell asleep. He would say things like, call me when you get up, leave, go, and come back from whatever it is you got going on today. He would sit with her at her job while she worked. She thought, well, we all thought, oh, that's cute. He cares about your coming and goings. Now we know. It was the start of how he would control her. If she missed a call, he would meet her with an attitude. Then the mental abuse. Before they would go out to eat, he would say things like, I'm going to get you fat and ain't nobody going to want you. You're going to be the prettiest fat woman. Some days he would shower her with expensive gifts like money, jewelry, and clothes, things she couldn't afford for herself. But other days, he would pull a gun on her. He locked her in a house and took the phone so she couldn't call for help. Over several years, she hid the mental, physical, and verbal abuse that she endured. He would say if she left, he would kill her. He said it was a joke, but it was not. As a family, we noticed how cautious she was around him, but we didn't think much of it. Well, actually, we ignored it. We thought, this is who she wants to be with. Besides, we figured she would tell us if he was hitting her, right? Right? Actually, wrong. As friends and family, we don't always understand how complicated it is to talk about what's happening behind closed doors. There's a worry that you would be considered weak or responsible for the abuse. There's a fear that you don't have the support that you need to get out, especially when the people who you think are going to be your support say things like, why won't you just leave? Or I could never let that happen to me. We want our loved ones to be safe and happy, but unfortunately, sometimes the things that we say doesn't always show that support. Prior to leaving the relationship, Bumper had already filed for a restraining order. She secured a place that we thought would be safe. On leaving day, everything goes as planned. Start the morning off regular, go back home midday when he's not home so we can pack everything we can in 2 cars, hers and mine. We didn't tell much people about the plan, but apparently someone saw us leaving. So as we were driving to the other side of town, the calls started coming in from him. I tried to tell Bumper not to answer the phone because I can see the fear that he's put in her eyes. She answered, and just from that short call, I can tell in her voice now that she's scared. My heart started racing. But we finally made it to the apartment and were safe for the night. The next day, he went to everyone in the family begging us to tell her to come home or for her to call him. Those next few days were scary. She would be looking over her shoulder everywhere. She wouldn't stay in the apartment alone. One day, he came beating on the door. We called the police, but I can hear him say, I don't give a damn about the police. That's my wife. Then he kicked the door a few more times before leaving. I found Bumper hiding between the dresser and the bed in my cousin's room with a look of horror on her face. And she said, he is going to kill me. He is going to kill me. My cousin and I tried to encourage her, but she didn't seem convinced. And as I think back now, and I realize I actually couldn't promise her that future because I didn't know him the way she did. The next night, my sister and I were sleeping in her bed, and we were woken up by the sound of glass shattering. He had placed the ladder up to the third floor balcony and broke the sliding glass door. Everything, as you could imagine, happened so fast, and he was in the room before we could do anything. I remember him saying, all I wanted to do was talk to you. She said, I'll go with you, baby, saying anything she can to try to calm him down. But he said, nah, if I can't have you, nobody will. And then he shot her in the face. I remember saying, please don't kill me. And he said, I ain't gonna kill you, but I'm out. He then put the gun under his throat and pulled the trigger. Something in me knew my sister was gone, but something in me wanted to fight to save her. I ran to my cousin's room and jumped out of the window. not sure where I needed to go, but knowing I needed to do something. When the police arrived, both Bumper, her husband, her accuser, her murderer, were pronounced dead. I still can't believe that I lived through this, but my sister, she did not. She was just 21 years old when he took her life, and it's her story that I tell, with the hope of encouraging anyone out there who needs to find support to find it, find the strength and the help to leave. For any survivor listening, there are organizations like the Hubbard House here to help you. And for anyone else out there, be there for the survivors and offer your support. I know LaShonda will be proud of me for sharing her story, proud to see that while she's not with us, her story can save lives. Proud to see the woman I am, someone who mentors others, is active in church, and is constantly working on making sure I'm the best version of myself. I started with this quote, and I want to end with it as well. It's up no one's definition of your life. Define yourself.
Thank you for sharing. Again, thank you to every one of our partners for coming out this morning. I would also like to thank the members of the media who come out each year and cover this event and all of the Domestic Violence Awareness Month events throughout October. Don't forget to wear your purple pins this month as we show solidarity and help bring awareness to domestic violence issues.